Welcome. I'm so honored that you have joined me today on Reclaim Your Life event. I'm Duane. I'm your host and the producer of this series. I'm a coach and a transformational guide for women, helping them reclaim their lives and discover their authentic voice. This is season 3 of Reclaim Your Life, featuring leading visionaries and heart-centered women whose passion is to serve others and share their gifts to the universe and make it a better place. Each guest will share how they've transcended extraordinary challenges, loss, and in some cases trauma to become the women they are today. And we've got a sizzler for today. I'll tell you, one of my most favorite chickadees on this planet. LIsa Marie Rosati is a visionary and an intuitive. She's a renowned transformation catalyst for women. She's the creatrix of the Goddess Lifestyle Plan and the Sugar-Free Goddess. She's co-authored international best-selling books, Embracing Your Authentic Self, In the Pursuit of the Divine, and Success in Beauty. LIsa empowers spiritual women around the world on how to magnificently create an abundant life they love with her signature process called the Goddess Lifestyle Alchemy. And also, she is the loving mother to the cutest mini pig you've ever laid eyes on named Oscar. I'm now a raving fan. I follow his page every day. I'm hooked. Welcome, LIsa Marie Rosati. I adore you and thank you for being with me today.
Oh, Mel, I love you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Always, always.
You're fun, girl. Just look at you. You just ooze goddess, I'll tell you. You know, I read a quote of yours last night. It's about our conversation today. It says it all. And I read on your website where you quoted, "A dark night of the soul can be a powerful catalyst for transformation if you allow yourself to receive the lesson and divine wisdom that's attempting to come through." Every woman on this series has had a dark night of the soul. And that's where I'd like to go. What was your darkest night of the soul?
Oh, to pick one would be difficult because each one of them were devastating in the moment. The one that I was talking about, the dark night of the soul that I was talking about in that particular article that you saw on my website, was the birth of my youngest child, Nathaniel, who I had him at 36. So it's not really old, but I started having babies at 22. So I have a 25-year-old daughter and a son in between who's 16. I had a high risk kind of pregnancy at the end. I was in labor constantly from 4 months on, so they were monitoring me. I was having, I was married to a physician at the time, so I had the very best of care. I had sonogram after sonogram. I had late-term amnio, and on the table, legs up in stirrups, they kind of told me, they said, "I'm sorry, your son was born with a deformity." And I laughed in the doctor's face, that the OBGYN, high risk OBGYN, because we had dinner with this man, and I was delirious from labor. It was like one of those moments where time just stood still, and my ex-husband, Nate's father, really panicked. He almost passed out in the room because the particular deformity that Nate has runs in his family. It's the same thing that causes lobster claw hands. He was born with a 3-toed foot on the right side, a short leg, and we didn't know what that would mean as far as the development of his internal organs. It was just also shocking. So, that was a moment that will never, it lived like time froze. It was bizarre. But after that, my marriage crumbled to my son's father, and I remarried. And I have to tell you, I think an even more profound dark night of the soul was one that my husband, Mike, who we all love Mike, he delivered quite a blow to me that I could only describe as, the mirror, my ego shattering into a billion tiny pieces. And that was the actual moment when it was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. I was not going to spend another day being the way that I was being. And it was the catalyst to this change, but through much hurt. I mean, he said something, I talk about it in Embracing Your Authentic Self, that chapter. I talk about it a lot, but basically he kind of told me, I had this like fantasy of what our marriage was going to look like. We were both older later on in life, and and I built up this marriage to be like the romance of the century. That's what we were going to be. And I mean, Mike is fabulous in so many ways, which I was failing to notice at the time. All I wanted was this romance, which I guess I felt I never had and I deserved. And I put a lot of pressure on him, and I would just look at him every day. What are we going to do today? And what are we going to do today? And what are we going to do today? And Mike is a very quiet, kind of badass kind of man. He's a warrior archetype, and he's very quiet. He likes to read. He also likes to sit and hear me talk, but he's not much of a talker. He's more of a listener. And I would put all this pressure on him. What are we going to do today? And one day he just happened to turn around at the kitchen table where I'm actually sitting here right now, where I was sitting when he said it 8 years ago. And he pulled his glasses up on his shaved head, and he looked at me with a face, and he told me, he said, "Why don't you go find something to do?" With the coldest tone I probably have ever heard in my life. The man doesn't raise his voice, but when he says something, it's like, oh my gosh. And in that moment, my ego shattered, the fantasy shattered. I lost respect for myself, everything, all at once. And I said, after I left the room, because honestly, I'm a fighter. I will fight. I'll be like, what the frick you talking to me like? Yeah. But that was even gone. Nothing. I just looked at him, crushed, and I just kind of went upstairs, cried my eyeballs out, thought about leaving. I'm out of here, because that was my MO. Right. You are an a-hole. I'm out of here. Pack my marbles, leave. New relationship. This is going to be different. Found myself in the same situation. So I said, no, I'm committed to sticking it out. And we did. We worked through it. And it was the catalyst to everything you see me create now. So as painful as it was a gift.
You say you find yourself in the same situation. So did you have these same expectations with your first husband of this massive romance?
Yes.
Sweep me off my feet, baby. You're Prince Charming. Love every day. Oh, hotsy. And life sets in.
Yeah.
And routine sets in, and children set in.
The mundane.
Yes. And so all of a sudden you became a little disenchanted. But that really wasn't.
A lot enchanted.
That wasn't the downfall of your first marriage, was it? Was it more the emotional trauma of your son and the complexities of that?
Absolutely. Well, I have to say my children were all born in love, and that is a blessing in itself. They were wanted. They were loved. Their father and I were in love at the time, and sadly, my son's father, he turned to prescription drug abuse and alcohol, and I was living in an abusive relationship. I had a daughter from a previous marriage. I was married when I was very, very young to Chelsea's father. I was divorced by the time she was 18 months. So that was so brief. And I was alone for almost 10 years. And then I met my son's father, a physician who I married. And we were married almost 10 years. Nate was born, I think, 6 years into the marriage. And we were divorced by the time Nate was 4. So it was like 9 3/4 by the time by the time I really had enough. Because there were times when he became sober and we tried, and then when he went back to using, it would be even more like more addiction. Like next time it came back, it was stronger, his addiction. It was very interesting, and honestly, it became emotionally abusive to me and my older son. My daughter really wasn't too affected, except the fact that down deep inside at one point, when it really got bad at the end, my daughter at 16 said to me, she says, "How can you stay with this man anymore? How can and then what happened was I went, this is what I'm teaching her to live with."
Right.
And I didn't want to leave, but addiction, sometimes you can't
No.
stay with it. And my Noah was being abused, like all of the anger, I guess, that he was pent up inside of him, all of the guilt, whatever it was. I mean, we never spoke about it, which is sad. He didn't want to go to therapy at the time, and he just closed down to it. He was actually taking everything out on Noah, who was 7 at the time, and he's a nervous kind of personality. He started twitching, so it started manifesting in physical ways in him. So I had to leave. I had to get my children and myself out of that toxic situation.
You know, doctors are the worst patients because they think they know everything. So
that's it. That was
they won't seek help when they need it.
No. And you know what? He can self-medicate. So when you're somebody who wants to escape dealing with reality, self-medication is very easy. And of course, painkillers are highly addictive, but the alcohol is really what exacerbated it. Sometimes, he'd fall down in public. It was horrible. It was a horrible port. And I feel for him. I really do, because I know it was because he was hurting, but he wasn't open to discussing it at the time.
But what's beautiful, and I've seen it following you, is that you have maintained a relationship with him that serves your children.
Yeah.
That they have a connection with him. So it's healthy. There's they're not missing out on having that fatherly love. But I know that Big Mike is every much a papa as anybody could ever be to these wonderful kids.
Yeah. And honestly, that's a great point, because my son's father wants nothing to do with me. But the one thing that I will never do is use my children as a punishment no matter how atrocious he is to me, as long as he's being a good father to them, that's fine. And, Mike is such a tremendously strong male presence in the house, and he's a wonderful stepfather. So I needed to start looking at Mike through the proper lens, instead of all the things he fell short of. Where really did he bring, value and such gifts to the table in our relationship? And there's many, many ways. I had to shift what I was focusing on.
You had to shift your perception, girl.
Yeah.
You had the fairy tale perception.
Yes.
And we're the only ones that can do that for ourselves. Nobody else can.
Yes. I wanted a man to save me. If I was to be completely transparent, I can say it, because I'm no longer that woman. That girl, even, because it was something that somehow planted in my head, when I was young, and I was hooked on a feeling there.
We're all raised with that. I don't know what it is, but it's the things that we're taught when we're very young about being a girl, being quiet, ladylike. Little girls are seen and not heard. That we're supposed to grow up, live in a house that has a picket fence, marry Mr. Wonderful, Prince Charming, and it's a bunch of bullshit. Doesn't happen that way.
There's magnificent love affairs, but they're created.
Yes.
And our friend Stacy Martino says that all the time, and so true, because they are created. That you have to look at the strengths of who you're married to. Some of the stuff you just have to decide what's really important here, what's really important to you. And for me, stability. I'm with a man who is never has raised. Well, I swear, and I'm an infuriating person. Let me tell you, when you live.
Not you.
And so I could be intense, and the man has never raised his voice at me. He's like my rock. So every time I forget that, I have to remind myself, these are his gifts that he brings to my life.
I have met Big Mike, and he's a force to be reckoned with. Yeah.
Yes.
Still waters run deep, girl. Remember that.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And he is a deep thinker. He's quiet, but he's a deep thinker. He's an observer. He's watching everything that's going on, and man, does he have your back.
Oh, yes.
And he worships you.
I have to say that he really does. He is a big fan.
Yes, he is.
And he's not an exuberant guy. So unless you're really looking, see, I'm an exuberant human.
Right.
So when I think something is exciting, it's like it shows. With him, it's just all very much a facade. So it's such an interesting thing, because I've become so good at seeing the magic in everybody, in everybody's situation, you know, but sometimes when it's close to home, have these blinders on. So yes, it's true. And I got to tell you, we spent a lot of time together in Atlanta, right? The three of us, Linda, Joy, you, and four of us, I should say, and Mike. And he had all of our backs. He's a good guy, you know. He's a really good guy, and I'm very happy he's my guy.
Yeah. And he's a great papa to Oscar too. I've seen the videos. He's wonderful with the mini pig.
He is. Oscar's really lovable, I have to say. He's quirky, but he's very lovable.
Now, you've mentioned a couple of really important things here that I think are key topics for the audience to pay attention to. One is not using your children as a pawn in a difficult relationship or separation or divorce, using them as a tool in negotiation to get what you want.
Yep.
Because that happens all the time. You see it, and it only hurts the children. What can women do to avoid getting into that mindset, that mode, Linda?
You know, women, I think, use those tactics when they feel that they have no leverage. And the children just they're such a commodity to a couple. You know, there's so much value in the child. And, you know, it's a strategy, but what ends up, and it does work. You can certainly manipulate a situation using children. I've seen it done over and over. I don't recommend it because, well, you know, as you know, I live magically. Energetically, it's not a good thing. If you manipulate the free will of others, or you manipulate where you're doing something you know is going to hurt somebody, that really activates the law of three. There's a karmic law, there's a magical law. You just don't want to go there. It really honestly activates the law of three, and you get like 3 blows from the universe in return. Yeah. You know, it's just what did I do? Because I'm human, and I'm telling you, I have horns. Unless I watch it, the horns sprout out my head. I'm certainly I'm not an angel by any stretch of the imagination. So what did I do? I really just kept thinking about my children, that I knew that I raised them every day of the week. They know values. They know me, no matter what is said about me by their father, because he does say things, not nice things. He's angry. You know, there's a lot of finger pointing, and instead of looking in the mirror, that's okay. He's not there yet. But, you know, at first I think I felt like I have to defend myself, you know, but then I realized, you know what, they're very smart. They live with me. If their father says something ridiculous, they may not know right now, but they will know eventually. The truth always comes out in the end and with time. And one of the tools I used was really just leaving it at the altar. I pray at my altar. I tell the divine my worries, my strife, and I say, please, for the highest good of everybody. I don't know what that looks like, but please, I'm really scared about this. And I leave it there.
You mentioned your altar. I know that you have a very strong spiritual practice. Besides, you're also into magic. Share a little bit about that and how that enhances your life, your spirituality, and your ability for magic.
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. I think most people that are confuse magical living with religion. My personal belief, and what is taught through GoddessLifestylePlan.com, is that all paths lead to one. The truth of the matter is that who you pray to, whoever your creator is really your business. I believe that all paths lead to one. So whatever you call your divine presence, it's all good in my book. There's no rules. I pull from all different traditions. I'm an eclectic. I'm a spiritual eclectic. If I read something and I get chills, then that is my truth. I feel that. I look at Native American traditions. I look at feng shui, which is not really a religion, but people do follow it. You know, Buddhism. I pull from things that feel wonderful to me, and I pray to the collective, to the gods. Sometimes if I need some strategy, yeah, I'll pray to Goddess Athena. Absolutely. Athena, send me some wisdom. You know, because to me, it's all the same. God is everything that ever was and ever will be. It's just, in my opinion, it's too, you cannot kind of compartmentalize God. God is Allah, God is this. No, God is everything.
Right.
And so that's how I view it, and that's what I teach, that all paths lead to one. Oh my goodness, I love the Blessed Mother. I have candles lit to her on almost a daily basis. Why? Because she is the epitome of unconditional love and compassion. And you know what? That's something I need to work on. So I pray to her, please, please use me. You know, so whoever you feel a feeling towards, that's really it's an individual person's business. So sacred practice to me is about altars. I have prosperity altars in my home. I have an entrance altar at the front door. I have an altar for business success in my office. I have an Aphrodite altar in my bedroom. I mean, I have all of these different altars because basically an altar is a collection of things, items that are sentimental to you or remind you of the divine.
Beautiful.
So that's really what it is. You know, altar, ritual, magic, these are all trigger words. And I really believe my work is kind of calming everybody down about those words. I mean, my mother does magic now. You know why? Because she prays and casts spells with the Blessed Mother. What is a spell? A spell is nothing more than the words you say. So if I say, Mel, may this interview go perfectly, smoothly, no matter what, for the highest good of all, with harm to none, and so it is. That's a spell. There you go. I just cast a spell because your thoughts are prayers and your words are spells. So we're casting spells. Everybody's casting spells, no matter what. So why not consciously cast them?
The sad part is that sometimes people are casting spells with negative words, negative thoughts, negative intention.
Not sometimes.
A lot.
Most times.
Yeah.
Most people's thoughts and words are negative. I think like 80-something% is the statistic. Listen, my point is, people, let's consciously design our lives.
Right.
Let's watch our thoughts and mind our words.
And then get positive outcome. Create what your heart desires, not what you're fearful of and, you know, saying, oh my God, I hope it doesn't happen.
Right.
But you create that negative spell, and that negative spell manifests in your reality as your experience.
It activates the law of attraction. So if your thoughts are negative, then that's what you're attracting, things of that vibration. High vibrational things are all the things people want: abundance, prosperity, health, joy, bliss. These are all very, very high, love. These are all high vibrational things, you know, feelings, emotions. They're high vibrational. So if you are desiring things that basically vibrate at this frequency, and your thoughts are, oh my gosh, I have too many bills. Oh my gosh, I'll never find the right guy. Oh my gosh, you're down here. You just literally pass each other. You're going to get this, you're going to get the assholes, excuse my French. You're going to get the bills.
Yeah. Do you have a simple practice that someone could do that would take them from the low vibration to the higher vibration? Not necessarily all the way up, but just something that moves them up the ladder.
Yeah.
Quick tip.
Okay, so a best practice is affirmation practice. Because, and an affirmation pretty much is set up this way: a positive statement, and you say it in a way that it's already happened. So I like looking in the mirror. The eyes are the window to the soul. I do my affirmations in a mirror looking in my own eyes. So I will look. I am happy. I am abundant. I am in love with my life. You know, things like that. It's like it's already happened. I am abundant beyond measure. I am divine. I am a goddess.
And what's important here is, I think that very few people point out, but you just put in a very key component. You've got to look yourself in the mirror, in the eyes, into the window of your soul.
That's right.
Most people say, oh, just write this down.
No,
put the yellow sticky over on the refrigerator door. I don't think that goes anywhere. But looking into the eyes the window of the soul, I think, plants that affirmation very deeply.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I have to tell you, that's part of my methodology. It's part of my process. That's really what sets me aside from most other, women or men doing whatever I do. I have very specific ways that I do things that I know work. And I'll tell you what, most women will divert their own eyes when they say those things because they don't feel them yet. But
Right.
the thing is, I ask my private clients, the people I share this with, to just really stick with it. And, and then of course, another thing that you must do, and I do say this often, so I don't mind sharing it. I have a practice that does change the way you feel about yourself, because an affirmation, you can reprogram the subconscious, Mel, but the truth of the matter is, if I looked at it and said, I am a Victoria's Secret model, I'm never going to believe that, because I'm 5 foot tall. I'm like an elf. So the thing is that, that you have actually.
I've never thought of you, and I stand next to you all the time.
I'm an elf.
Oh, no.
So the point I'm trying to make is, I know, when we don't think something is possible, where it's just, we could say it over and over and over and over, it's never going to go in, because we're just immediately rejecting it. So the thing about it is that if I say I am a goddess to me is a woman who is on the green grass edges of being the most healthy and powerful version of herself possible. There's no comparison. When I wake up in the morning, I say, how can I show up 100% to my day? My day. And that's it. So that's what I like. I teach my clients to really look through that lens. What is my 100% today? How am I showing up?
I love that.
Check in. And then one of the best practices is, and I say it all the time, raise your self-esteem. Our self-esteem falls when we disappoint ourselves. Because esteem is a verb. Self-esteem is a verb. It's the act of estimating ourselves. How does my hair look today? My hair looks like crap today. My hair looks great today. How do I look today? How do I feel today? It's an estimation. That's what self-esteem is, and it changes. So one of the best ways to change your self-esteem, and I say it all the time, I'm telling you, my sister, my private clients, they quote me all the time. It's never break a promise to yourself, not a small one or not a big one. If you say you're going to do something, you stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning if you have to. You complete a task you say you're going to do. Be careful what you say you're going to do, because the minute you start saying, I'm going to do that, and then you don't, that's when your esteem falls, because you disappoint yourself.
That's a tweetable, girl.
It is. Tweet it for me,
That's
Mel.
a tweetable. That's going in the notes. We got a couple of really powerful tweetables here today. Tell me, you are so generous. You have a lovely free gift for our guests from your Goddess Lifestyle Plan, sharing your wisdom, sharing your gifts. Tell us a little bit about the free gift that the audience will receive.
Well, thank you. I'm really excited about the free gift. It's called a Magical Goddess Lifestyle Swag Bag, because there's all these fun little things in there. One is a gorgeous, actually everything, it's so beautiful. Everything's beautiful, but there's a manifesto. So, and it's printable. You can print it out and actually hang it where you can read it. It's beautiful to look at, and you can just be reminded of your power and divinity. So that's in there, and it's printable. You can have it done. I'm actually having mine done on canvas, really big poster size now, and I'm going to hang it in my office because it's really pretty on top of everything else. And then I have a workbook, Design Your Goddess Life Planner. Here's the deal. When I work with women, I always say, they're unhappy with their life, where they've ended up. Maybe they can't even put a finger on why it is. And I'll say, well, what do you love doing? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is, I don't know. It's been so long since I even thought about me. So this was something I noticed was lacking in women's lives, is really me time. Because this is the thing. When we do things for everybody else, when we say yes, when we really want to say no, when we're taking care of our kids and putting our self-care starts to go down to the bottom of the to-do list. And if you know anything like I do, a to-do list is never done. So you're constantly down there. It's never finishing. You're never getting to you, because the priorities keep going on top, and you just keep falling down farther and farther. And what happens with women is we really we burn out. We burn out. And this is the thing. It happened to me. I became bitter. I was doing things for others and people I love. And guess what? I had the vibration of like a slug. I was so resentful. I didn't do it with love. I did it with resentment, like a duty, just to get it the frig off my to-do list, you know?
Yep.
And what I really realized was that women needed help in discovering their goddess life recipe, because when we start adding in to our experience, our life experience, things that make us feel juicy, and each woman is as unique as a snowflake. So my goddess life recipe is not the same as another, and so on and so on. So this particular workbook walks you right through. At the end, you have your goddess life recipe. And the great thing is that no, we can't drop everything and just start spoiling ourselves 24/7, but we could start infusing our life with those things. And what happens is we start to feel refilled, filled back up,
Right.
you know, our vibration raises, and then more good juicy stuff starts coming our way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I know from knowing you as well as I do in this interview that you are one juicy chick. You live life to the fullest, honey. I love it. You're just like Halley's Comet in heels. Fabulous. Tell me, is my boy Oscar handy?
He is. I could get him.
Could he step in for a quick bye-bye?
Okay, hold on. I'll go get him.
Okay.
Oscar, come here, boo-boo. Come here.
I love this pig. I mean, I'm following him now on Facebook. That just tells you how much I like him. Every video. He's the cutest thing ever. Oh my God, look at him. How much does he weigh now?
Well, last week, sometimes he gets temperamental being held.
Right.
Last week he weighed 12.1 pounds. He's sniffing. He's sniffing you, Mal.
I'm sniffing you back, Oscar. I love you, baby face. Oh, he is the cutest ever. Enjoy him in good health. Lisa, thank you so much for being part of this today. It's just always so much fun to connect with you. You are such a blessed soul, girl.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
Namaste.
Yeah, I love you. Mwah.
See you soon.
Bye from Oscar.
Bye, Oscar.
You get no hoof.